And we are back with Peter Varga of Humans of Dublin. So tell me a little bit about, what do you think you've learned about what it means to be human through these stories?
Well, the most important thing I would say is the importance of practice empathy. Like without empathy, you will not able to create a visual field what humanity is and what your community is made of, or what your state or what your country is made of. It's really important to sometimes to take yourself out of your shoes and put yourself into someone else's shoes and then practice it every single day. Because if you do that, you will be able to realize that the world is not only black and white, it's like mostly lingering between the gray matter, if you know what I mean. So since I started Humans of Dublin, I learned to form opinions much slower, and maybe not to have that strong opinions from almost any topic, because I know that each experience create a reason to be in that field, if you know what I mean.
In the same token, would you say that you've learned anything specific about Ireland and its people through their collective stories? Because you said earlier you're from Hungary, right?
Yes. Well, the one thing, like I always like to say about Irish people, that probably if I would start out in Hungary with the same project, I probably would not be where I am today, because the Irish people are so open to talk about. They have this the pop culture. They like to share stories, and there are also lots of people from different countries who made their first step to move out of their comfort zone and come to another country. So those people are obviously much more open to create new connections, even off the streets, that a guy just approached them with a camera.
Is there a story or a person that you featured, or who you featured, that has impacted you the most, or perhaps in a way that was most unique?
Yeah, so there were two early features that they really impacted me in terms of they went viral as well. One of them was a guy he was just going to buy some candy, and he met a guy sitting on the ledge of the bridge and about to jump, and he decided that he's just going to stop and ask the guy what is going on with him. And then they started to talk, and eventually he was able to get him off from the bridge, and their ways parted for a while, but they kept in touch over the phone. And later that year, it turned out that the guy had a child and contacted the little guy that he named the child after him, because he was the one who saved his life. That was one of those stories that really stands out.
We never really get to hear about how you found any particular person or how you started the conversation. Do you have an approach story that's kind of stuck with you?
Approach story? No. Well, I have obviously a technique how I approach people, and the interesting thing about it is I never actually tell them about the interview part. I usually say that I'm working on a photography project where I have to collect portraits of random people on the streets. Do you mind if I take your portrait? And obviously it's all about your energy as well, how you approach people. But they usually say yes. And once I have the picture, I show it to them, and I tell them that I actually have to connect a couple of sentences for each portrait. So do you mind if I ask you one or two questions? And obviously, because we are already in connection, I made a picture, they would open up a little bit better. And then it's all about, again, making them feel comfortable and show that you are truly interested in them.
Now, I know that you've worked with a lot of nonprofits. What has that been like? And have you felt like some success stories came about from these events?
Absolutely. So I can't even remember now anymore. Like, I'm doing Humans of Dublin for about 5 years now, and I had so many partnerships. Not only, like, what I'm trying to specialize is to raise awareness for certain topics, but we had a couple of charity projects that we were able to create a book, another book that we were publishing that became part of the local history section of the library. We were able to create offline exhibitions. We were able to raise thousands and thousands of euros for different charities, and probably that's why, because people can see that how effective it's much better than an advertisement. You really feature human stories, and people are able to connect with them much better on a completely different level. And because of that, these partnerships are the most successful. I really enjoy working with charities and different organizations.
Now, we touched upon COVID and the virus a little bit earlier in the show. How has it specifically affected your work? Obviously, it's difficult to come up and approach people. It is tough to get a portrait with a mask on.
Yeah, so obviously it's really affected my work, especially early in March. But there were multiple reasons why I decided not to go ahead and approach people on the streets anymore. Not only because of the social distancing part, but also because my wife was already pregnant at the time. Whenever the whole lockdown came in, I kind of took a different approach. In the beginning, I tried to create the interviews online, but when I saw that it doesn't really work out, I started to focus on spending more time with my family and focusing on partnerships where people highlight interviews for me and I would go directly to that person. I trade the portraits with the social distancing in place, and after we would finish it up, or with social distancing in person or online. So it changed a lot, because since March I actually haven't been out on the streets to approach people in a classical way.
Now, having to be Humans of Ireland, have you learned anything new about being human through this different process that you have to go through now? I mean, for me, lockdown has proven just how badly I think humans need physical contact and connection. I mean, even the introverts, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Well, probably I'm trying to highlight soon. I'm planning to work with another organization as well, who is responsible for elderly people and loneliness. And I really want to highlight the people, and then maybe the heroes throughout the lockdowns who were able to provide not only helping to do the shopping for elderly people, but helping them with all different ways not to make them too lonely. So that would be a really interesting other project as well.
Now, are there other projects or events that you're also currently working on?
So yeah, I was working in a direct provision. I'm not sure if you heard about direct provision in Ireland for asylum seekers who would come into the country. They would have to be part of the direct provision centers until they get asylum in Ireland. So their situation is obviously very different at the moment with COVID as well, and they need for donations. So I partnered up with an Instagram page who are organizing donation packages for these people, and then they put me in touch with some of the asylum seekers to tell their stories, to create a little empathy around their stories as well, and for people to understand an island where they are coming from and what kind of backgrounds and struggles they had to go through to get to Ireland.
Now, what can we expect to see from you in the future? Have you got, are there things that you have kind of off even a little bit further, hopefully once the lockdowns are over?
Yeah, so my idea would be to continue doing Humans of Dublin and develop a place where people can come to practice empathy and to raise awareness through real life stories.
What is the best way for people to follow you and your work?
Absolutely. So on Instagram, it's Humans of Dub, at Humans of Dub, and on Facebook is the Humans of Dublin. I have, I think, 200,000 followers, and accounting with a weekly reach that I'm really proud of, organic reach of 450,000 people a week. Throughout the years, I developed a community that is very positive and very supporting. So whoever gets featured, I am always sure that they're going to receive very positive comments and messages, which is a very rare place in this day and age.
Especially on social media. I mean, people are so critical on social media. And the interesting thing is I've looked, I've looked at, both, Humans of Dublin, Humans of New York, and I'm surprised. I don't want to say I'm surprised because of the way that it's done in both cases, but especially even in yours, because the empathy factor. I think it invites more empathy. The way that from a photojournalist standpoint, the way that you approach these things, in a world in which social media is full of trolls, in which people are so mean-spirited in so many ways. But like I said, I was surprised, but yet I wasn't, at how empathetic and supportive people have been. on this particular medium in comparison to a lot of others, I guess is a better way of putting it.
That's why I'm saying that I didn't even start. Like, I used to have a Twitter page, but Twitter is becoming a place that it's not welcoming enough for a project like this. So I almost completely removed myself. I'm still posting in there, but I think on Facebook and on Instagram, probably conversation is much more positive. This is a kind of like Humans of Dublin it taught so much to me. Like, it changed my life so much. Like, I used to work in a coffee shop before I started this project, and for me, work was going into work every single day, 8 hours, making coffee, going home tired and having lunch. Since I started Humans of Dublin, I really feel that I have purpose. And then with the whole community around Humans of Dublin as well, it's just an amazing experience. I don't feel like working. In the past 5 years, I didn't work a minute. And it's something that not too many people able to say,
Well, I think in that last statement you just made, I think I just got my bio on you for my Humans of the Weekly show. A snapshot of you. So thank you, Peter, so much for joining us. I know that it was kind of difficult connecting because we're on different sides of the globe, but that is one small benefit of having the show this way is I'm able to be able to do interviews with people that never would have been able to make it to my set. And I've really enjoyed having you on. Thank you so much for joining us, Peter.
It's a pleasure, David. Thank you so much for having me.
Take care.